I will open the meeting. First item on the agenda is the approval of last meeting's minutes, which are the November 19th minutes. Everybody's had a chance to read them, I hope. Any questions? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Because you can still do that.
I can do that, okay.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? There being none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Ray?
Yes.
Opposed, say no. There is none. It's unanimous. Minutes are passed. And like I said, I just signed and then initialed mine. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So next up is a review of the meeting schedule. At the last meeting, we had changed some dates, and Ashley's been good enough to rewrite the schedule.
Someone's coming in.
Someone just came in.
So, this is in the
Dropbox.
Dropbox. So, Ray, the new schedule is in the Dropbox if you want to take a look at it.
Right, great.
But it sets up all the dates that we had said at the last minute.
The only
at the
thing I
last meeting.
didn't adjust was the school. They sent us an invitation tentative for the 11th, I
Was it
think.
February 11th?
I'll edit it and update the one
Yeah.
on the Dropbox.
Yeah, so that was February 11th. I
Yeah.
think you're right on that day. Okay. How you doing, Christian?
It's the Wednesday before school
Yeah.
vacation week, so I'll just add it. Pretty sure it was the 11th.
So you probably saw that?
Yes.
Right, that's gonna be 11th, okay?
And then the only thing I'll add is,
Yeah.
we invited the school to your joint meeting in April with the Board of Selectmen. So Dudley Charlton will come to that meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. With the school department, not the school committee.
Correct. They usually bring the chair
Yeah.
of the school committee, yeah. They'll have an updated budget by then.
Okay, and along that line, Ashley has passed out the tentative, I'll call it tentative because it hasn't happened yet, the hearings in January, February, and March for some of the departments. And it looks like you've got, what, 60-70% of them?
Yeah, so the ones I don't have on here said that they're not gonna have any budget changes, so
Oh, okay. Oh, these are the ones that have already let you know?
either they have changes or they just like coming,
They said
wanna
they're
come,
good.
yeah.
Okay,
Some of them are like, do I have to come? I'm like, it's up to you.
yeah,
I'm not asking for anything different. I'm like,
okay, so you got,
not forcing you, but if you would like to, here's the dates.
all right, so yeah, and you've got a big one on each of the 3 nights.
Yeah, I tried to split up police, fire, and DPW, so you got your big hitters, and then obviously, like Bay Path, I gave them the latest meeting,
Yep.
and I just put them at the end.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so that's our schedule for our hearings come the first of the year. Next on the agenda, I had just a quick update on our health insurance program. You were having a meeting the next day or something after
yeah,
last
we had a
meeting.
meeting the next day, and we had a meeting today with Hampshire County, and I don't know. They hired a consultant. They gave us a lot of information today. Their financials don't look great. We ended up in the hole again this month. They have no money. I don't know. So we'll see what happens.
You said they
The
have the
tr-
money, but they've got to come up with some money.
So
they're going to assess us all
they're
again?
basically operating on whatever money as of now, because they've kind of exhausted, it looks like, all of their depository accounts, like they had a bunch of like CDs and stuff that they were saving and earning interest on. Looks like they've depleted all of those. So all they have is left is just their operating account, which is the money coming in from all the towns. So it looks like that's all they're operating on. So I mean, it's still a substantial amount of money it's like $9 million that they get in, I think, from us. But the claims have been high. Pharmaceuticals haven't gone back down like they planned they were going to. Even though they stopped carrying GLP-1s, they've now been hit with cancer drugs, which are just as expensive. So, I don't know. They have a new consultant in there. They say things are going to get better, but their so they gave us, every time we meet, they usually give us like updated financials. So at the beginning, when they told us they were going to increase us another 20%, we were going to end up with like $5 million in the bank at the end of the year. Then when they crunched some more numbers, then it was down to like 3.7 million. Now they're telling us they're gonna end with like $800,000 in the bank at the end of the year. So we went from like
In 2 more
5
weeks.
at the end of like the fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Based on
You're
claims
worried
and.
if it was the end of the
Yeah,
calendar.
no, end of the fiscal year. So I don't know. So we're still working with NFP, kind of weighing out our options. We've been told we're probably not gonna get claims data anytime soon through the end of November, which is what most carriers want, so they can rate us, cause right now we only have claims data through June 30th of 25. They lost another person in the office at the trust, so they had 5 people. They lost their executive director. They've now lost another girl in the office, so they're down to 3 people that work there right now. So we've been told we probably won't get claims data anytime soon because it's a process for them to do. So I don't know how well we're gonna get rated, if we'll get rated in time for open enrollment. So our options are slimming, so.
When is the end of their fiscal year?
Same as ours, June 30th.
June 30th.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they operate the same same like we do.
Do we have a worst-case scenario plan in concept?
Well, worst case scenario is that we seek to self-fund until we can get into another group purchasing agreement. We are talking with other JPAs that are out there about the feasibility of joining starting the beginning of the year. Kind of worst case scenario at this point is that the trust goes belly up mid-year, but at least every day that goes by, we're closer to the end of the year. So, that financial burden is becoming less and less that we'd have to consider.
Right.
But I think it's just right now, it's that planning for what's our next step, does this financial picture at all turn, or are we gonna go to, seek out another option? Will another option take us that isn't just self-funding?
Right. And I'm not to be all doom and gloom. Everyone's facing the same problems right
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
So it's not just like it's not just Hampshire County. It's
No, and
every.
I hope that you're talking with others like yourself.
Yeah.
Saying, what's your idea, and maybe.
And it's not even municipal problems. It's just it's a healthcare problem. Like
Right.
healthcare is so expensive right now. So it's not just towns. I'm sure corporations are feeling the same burden we are. So
Just to go down the road of self-funding, would it require us to have a pool of money to get that started, let's say? Like you gotta start with $500,000 in the bank to pay the first until you
From
start.
my understanding, no, we would just pay, you're just responsible for paying the claims out. So like, okay, I go to the doctors and it costs me, my copay, just say $35, but then when I run it through the insurance, it's $5,000. We, the town of Charlton, will need to pay $5,000 to the
Right.
doctor's office.
Right.
So we don't pay Blue Cross, we would have to pay, because that's how the trust does it, so I don't know if it would change. Actually, no, sorry, they pay Blue Cross and Blue Cross pays, but
Right.
they still pay directly every single claim that comes in. So
Right.
I'm assuming we would be the
Which leads
same.
to my question, do we need to have a pool of money, ready
I think at this point, we're okay through the end of
Yeah.
the fiscal year.
to the end of this
Yeah.
fiscal year? Okay.
Right.
If we
So
had to
even
do
if it
for a
was
whole
tomorrow,
year.
I think that we're healthy enough in our health insurance account to be able
Yeah.
to account for it. If anything, we could take care of something at annual town meeting.
Right.
So it wouldn't necessitate us, doing anything drastic at this point.
Yeah, and the DOR is working on, I guess, verbiage in the law to allow us to deficit spend.
Mhm.
So they told us if in the meantime you have to, they'll allow it, just make sure that you're covering it by
Okay.
your next town meeting.
Yeah.
And we did because we sat on a call with, the deputy director from DOR and I did ask the question, like, if I have to self-fund and I don't have cash, what do we do? And we are allowed to borrow from stabilization without town meeting approval, and then I would have to put it back. So like, it's like you're like loaning yourself money, and then I have to put it back at town meeting, but I could loan it out. I believe that's the way he worded it. I mean, if worst case, we had to call a town meeting to do it, I
No,
could, but.
and actually, that was one of the reasons why I was wondering what we could do. And I saw today for the first time that a January 11th or 12th
12th.
special town meeting is
Yeah.
gonna be. So I didn't know whether that gave us an opportunity, let's say, to meet before,
Yeah.
with the town before May. that's.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the, for citizens petition meetings, it's to that singular topic.
Oh, you can't add, okay.
Right.
No.
If we did self-fund, and, worst case scenario, it doesn't sound like we may or may not have to do that. Would we need an employee, would that be your responsibility? Like, whose responsibility would it be to like do the management of paying the
Would
claims?
be ours,
and-
yeah.
Yeah. We probably work with our or our insurance advisors to, try to help us through that. Probably be an additional cost to them to take on that additional work,
Yeah.
but we'd be mainly handling it internally. We've seen other towns that have done it. It's
Right.
definitely more costly because you don't have that professional management of it. And it's a lot smaller of a pool, so you don't
Right.
get the same discounts. But, it's manageable for a short period of time.
I got a question. How long would we anticipate doing this as a plan B?
Well, if the trust went belly up, we'd have to do it till June 30th, and then you'd have to do your runoff claims for 18 months. We'll have some sort of insurance, but whether it costs us, we have to do something, so
Right?
we'll
'Cause
have
we
something
don't-
for July
There's a lot of
1st.
risk involved with self-insurance. We don't have the scale to spread it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
we'd probably be looking at the situation of reinsuring over a
right,
$100,000
yeah, so I
claim type of
think
thing.
when we asked our insurance advisors, we could probably pick up some sort of reinsurance. Or like,
That's
they
a
call
good
it
idea.
stop loss. So you could, so we have stop loss through the trust. I don't think it would push down to us, but I think we could look into picking up a policy, on our own, so it would help. And honestly, when we looked at our claims data, it was, I think, 18 months worth of claims data or something, and it wasn't unmanageable,
Yeah, okay.
so.
No, it's the variables,
Right.
The unexpected that puts us
Yeah.
at a huge risk. So, yeah, I think that would have to be part of it, in my opinion, to
Yeah.
have some kind of policy or backstop.
Yeah, so right now, worst case scenario wouldn't even be 6 months, cause they have to give us notice that they're gonna dissolve, and we haven't received it yet, so I'm good for at least a month, so. Worst case scenario, I guess, maybe 5 months of self-funding, but they're not like all, this new consultant group thinks that we're, like, they're saying we're okay, even though the financials don't look great, but they're saying we're okay, and we're gonna make it to the end of the fiscal year. So, I
Okay.
don't think the same, but to each their own, I guess.
Okay.
It just doesn't look great if I'm looking at it from the financial side, so.
Well, it's just something I
Yeah.
wanna make sure we keep on our radar.
Yeah,
and
so we'll
be
probably
prepared for.
we'll probably have rates, hopefully from a couple companies, February, March. So we're hoping, so.
Mhm.
And we were told today that potentially there's 9 communities leaving the trust.
That
Out of
have
the-
already
Out
sent
of the
in their
73,
notices?
yeah, so the GIC, which is the state's insurance, you have to give notice by December 1st of intent to leave, and they just, so before that was a binding agreement by December 1st, and you had to leave whatever insurance you were for the next July. They extended it for us because of all this, and you have until the beginning of, January now to give that intent,
Mhm.
so,
Excuse me,
Is this a meeting for the National Grid?
National Grid meeting?
Nope.
no,
Sorry.
Not here. This is FinCom.
Was that?
This is the Finance Committee meeting.
Okay. Do you know where
I-
the meeting is?
I think conservation got canceled, they don't have a quorum tonight, I don't think, yeah.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay. I forgot what I was saying, but, yeah, we hope to have rates, so hopefully we'll know, but we were told 9 communities were leaving. But they have until January 5th or 6th, something like that, because of the holidays, to get all their documents ready. And as long as they have all their documents, then they're leaving, but if they don't get them all, then it's not a binding letter and they can't leave.
Okay.
So at least 9 are
Have you
leaving.
talked to any one of them that has said,
They
yeah,
won't-
we're leaving because
They
we got
won't,
this?
they won't tell us who it is,
Okay,
yeah. Maybe in January they will,
yeah.
And I think the ones that were told, all going to the GIC.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely all leaving to go to the GIC. And I think at that point, if you're leaving to go to the GIC, you're guaranteed insurance. You don't have to worry about all of this. You're always gonna have insurance because the state bails them out if they're in the hole. It doesn't matter if they're in the hole $3 million, the state gives them $3 million to bail them out, so they're not worrying about, they'll always have something. There's no worry about this. So for just not the best insurance for the employees in our eyes, so we didn't wanna go that route yet. That's like our last case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, say, worst case scenario, and it's the longest time frame to try to get into because it's a very dictated process.
Yeah.
And obviously that requires plan design changes,
Union negotiations.
union
I was
negotiations
gonna say,
that we'd all
how
have
does
to go
that
through.
affect,
Yeah,
Yeah,
already signed contract? Because I think
You'd
you've
have to
got
open 'em
no
back up.
open negotiations, right? You've already got,
well,
You
we
have to impact
technically
bargain.
do,
huh?
you have to impact you have to
yeah.
provide the opportunity to impact bargain.
Yeah, so we technically have a open contract right now, but we'd still have to open the other two.
Right.
But,
So,
We didn't
yeah,
give notice
it's
to
not
leave,
just a
so we
matter of saying,
can't.
okay, we're gonna go over here.
Correct.
It's
right,
process.
yeah, it's marketable at that point,
Okay,
so,
all right, well, we'll touch base on it every month just to get the updates.
yep.
Yep.
Okay, anybody got any other questions of?
Nope.
Okay. Next on the agenda, I see Andrew put together a discussion on excess revenue. Last meeting. I put that on there, as I mentioned at the last meeting, what I would like to see us do at every meeting is just pick a topic, spend 10 minutes on it,
Sorry, my noggin.
try to educate everybody at home about this is what the town does and how it does it. And this month, we're gonna talk about the excess levy capacity and how it's determined and how it's used.
All right, I apologize already for the wordiness of all the slides, but kind of wanted to make sure we covered like all of our bases going through it. So, right. And I know you probably can't even read that on the screen, so you got your handy dandy, pass outs here. So first, kind of just touching on the levy itself. So in Massachusetts, the tax levy is the total amount of property tax revenue that a city or town is legally allowed to raise in a fiscal year to fund, municipal services and school services. That tax levy is governed under Prop 2.5, which is the state law that limits how much a levy can increase each year and the maximum levy that a community may assess overall. Now, the two key limits are both the levy ceiling, which is the total levy that may not excess 2.5% of the municipality's full fair cash value of taxable property. So this is equivalent to a $25 per thousand assessment. So in no case could you have a tax rate of more than $25 per thousand.
Okay.
Now, the levy limit is is what we're typically playing with. The limit may increase by no more than 2.5 over the prior year plus new growth. And that's essentially taxes from new construction, renovations, and property value increases due to new developments. Now, a municipality may only exceed the levy limit by ballot vote, and that's for an override, a debt exclusion, or for a capital outlay exclusion, which is typically like if a town is so tight that they need a 1-year authorization in order to go buy a dump truck. That would be a capital outlay exclusion, or, a debt exclusion is you're gonna be, borrowing over, say, a 30-year, or 10-year, 20-year, or 30-year period of time. And then override, that's a permanent increase in that tax base for a specific purpose. I just try to outline on the side here, kind of between FY '25 and '26, how this all kind of plays together. So in FY '25, we had a $32 million levy to start from FY '24. 2.5% increase on that was $800,000. Plus we captured $2.5 million in new growth, which gave us that new subtotal of $35 million. Add on the debt exclusions that have been applied, that comes to a total levying capacity of $36 million. Now for the next year, our current year, FY '26, we start with that $35.6 million. Added another 2.5%. And then we captured $5.6 million in new growth, giving us the new base of $42 million, plus $600,000 in debt exclusions, giving us a new levy capacity of $42.8 million. So as we're starting the budgetary process of looking at '27, we're starting at a new base of $42.2 million for the tax levy. 2.5% on that is just over $1 million additional just in 2.5. And to make sure that we stay consistent with being conservative, we're using we're looking at using $400,000 as our benchmark. And if you look down at the sheet that's below, it kind of shows what our trends have been over time. And you can see over the last few years that CIP, the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxes, have been the real drivers of that new growth, but residential has stayed very low. So in order to be conservative enough, we're trying to look mostly at that residential line and where we would be there, and assume that commercial is just going to be kind of that extra that we can look at as we get further down the line. So then,
So down below where it says levy ceiling.
yep, oh, yes, sorry, didn't touch on that. So the levy ceiling, that's essentially the number to say that if the town decided to go to and do an override, beyond the 2.5 levy limit for that year, you could not approve a override for any more than that total amount of the levy ceiling.
So your levy ceiling is your full and fair value. So if you take the value of all the houses, all the businesses, all the industrial, all the personal property in town, if you take the full value of that times a number, you get the levy ceiling.
Okay.
And then every year that grows.
2.5%
I was
of
gonna
that
say, so
number.
that'd be that 25 per thousand you're saying.
Right.
Correct.
So
Right.
that's where we
And that's
could
how you would
tax,
end up with $78
that would be
million.
taxing to the max, yeah.
Right, right. If we for somehow approved a budget in FY '26 that had a levy of $93 million, we'd have a $25 per thousand tax
tax
rate.
rate.
Yeah, that's like they always say, taxing to the max. That's
Yep.
that max number. You can't go beyond that.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know where we stand as far as like our town being, obviously we're pretty far away from the levy ceiling, but compared to like other surrounding towns in similar situations, how close they are to their levy ceiling? Any idea?
I was just looking this up. There's not a lot of towns that are close to their ceiling.
No, it's
No.
just,
There's, I think, when I
Log
looked, there was a
Meadow used to be.
handful. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a handful, and a lot of them are out west. I think Springfield and West Springfield were one of them, if I remember correctly. And then there was another town, and then a really small town out there.
Yeah.
They weren't at the max, but they were close.
and that's probably attributed to the rise in property values recently versus only going up 2.5%.
That, and they've probably had an override, because it's a permanent increase to your taxes, that your taxes won't ever go back down unless you have an underride.
Right.
So they've probably just had so many overrides for things because they don't have enough money.
Right, I was saying the
From-
reason
Yeah.
why we're so far away from
Oh.
ours
Is
is
because
because of
of
the
the-
rise.
Yes,
Right.
that, and you've had,
We've been consistent on, we haven't had many overrides.
well, that, and you had a big jump in your commercial and industrial and personal property
True,
come
yeah.
in, so that's helped you a lot too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
towns that have a stagnation of that growth in their real estate value, you know,
Right.
they creep up closer to that maximum levy
Yeah.
capacity even without an override.
Right, and even they say, like, your values, when your values are high, your tax rate's usually low. Then when your value is low, your tax rate's usually high. But you're gonna end up with the same number, they just shift based on the markets. Like, if your house values are gonna fall, your tax rate's gonna jump up,
Right.
because the values are falling, but you still have that, your tax rate is still there, or your levy's still there, so it's just gonna offset somehow, because the money that you need to raise is still there, how are you raising it? So you're gonna have to increase the dollar amount that you're taxing everybody, so if it's, right now, we're like $10.94, so instead of being $10.94, maybe it's $15 or $16, because your values all fell.
So excess levy capacity essentially exists when a town or city sets a tax levy that's below its maximum levy limit. So that formula, excess levy capacity equals the levy limit minus the actual levy. It occurs by municipality. Municipality may intentionally maintain excess levy capacity to limit tax increases on residents, preserve the flexibility for your future budgets, offset market volatility, i.e. when you have a spike in home values, or to maintain financial stability without having to go to frequent overrides. But it's discretionary, so it's really reflective of a policy choice when you're setting the budget. It's not revenue in hand, so it's just the authority to tax. So this isn't the equivalent of free cash where the money is there and it's available to spend. It's just the authority to tax. If it's not used, it does carry forward into future years. So as that grows, you have that ability to jump up and grab it if needed. But if you do jump up and grab it, you'd run the risk of negatively impacting tax bills by creating a jump in the tax rate.
Right.
And then you don't need voter approval in order to grab that. So it can be done more discretionarily.
So, the question is, there's no window on that? There's not like a 5-year period or a
Nope.
5-year average, it's indefinite?
Yep.
Right, it continues to grow at the rate of 2.5% plus due growth,
Right,
irregardless year over year.
right.
Okay.
So-
What would be a reason you would exercise the excesses? Ron?
Taking on additional,
But,
Yeah.
yeah, why would you want to ever hit that top limit in one particular year?
we're more looking at not the ceiling part, but your levy part. So like
Yeah.
we closed some of that new growth, like you'll see it later in slides, we closed like almost 1.8 million to excess levy this year.
Yeah.
The year before, I think we were right at 1 million.
Yeah.
So we have the ability, we didn't tax to that total tax levy because that means because we closed excess, so we didn't tax to that full levy, even though we have the capability to. But let's say next year, we know we need 4 additional bodies, you're gonna have more fire station debt coming on. The costs are rising to fix things, so say if we needed to tap into those things, we could, but we're gonna have to also remember that by us tapping into that, it's gonna raise people's taxes.
Okay, so it's a general overall budget look, it's not a
Correct.
specific event, there's no triggering event that might say, oh, geez,
Right.
there
We gotta
could
jump
be,
up and grab.
there could
Right,
be.
there could be, yes,
But-
but, yes, that's why when we really, it's usually Andrew, myself, and my assessor Kathy, the 3 of us sit down and we look and we play with a lot of numbers, especially around budget season and around tax rate setting time, to know how much we're affecting people's taxes, and we really keep that in mind, so we're not spiking everybody, and we're trying to raising them gradually and we think fairly.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I put in here, basically, year to year, the town has to balance its ability to maintain that excess levy capacity, but also stabilizing tax assessments while also trying to meet our long-term financial obligations. But you can see in the chart here, up until FY '23, every year we were taxing to the max. Whatever go back before that, we were asking for overrides in order to go beyond that amount. It's only due to the recent increase in our CIP that we've been able to build this over the last few years.
Yeah, we never turned
Yep.
back excess levy, we always tried to get it as close to, we had to, cause we
Previous
spent
year.
the money, in previous years, we closed back as close to 0 as we could.
I do wanna make sure that if going into the future, if we are going to dip into that at all, that we are having that clear communication
Yep.
on where those funds are coming from, and not just assuming that, I'm sure we would anyway. But
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is more just an outline of kind of the FY '26 picture. It's kind of repetitive from the prior slide, but just kind of shows how the FY '25, FY '26, how that levy then ties into local aid, state aid, the receipts reserved for appropriation, and then our state charges and overlay, which gives us that total amount that we're bringing to you guys essentially to approve. So looking conservatively at this point for FY '27, with a levy capacity of $44.9 million, if we just looked at a gradual increase to state aid, local receipts, maintained receipts reserved for appropriation, brought our, maintained level state charges, and brought our overlay back down, we're essentially looking at about a $51.1 million in incoming revenue that we're gonna be budgeting around. And then just on the other side, showing FY '25 and FY '26, how our total approved expenditures aligned with our total projected revenue, and how that excess levy capacity was generated.
Right. And if we tax to that, even if we just say the 51 million, I think at that point you're tapping into the excess levy, because you're using your full levy capacity.
Right.
So usually when we go into budget, we'll know a little bit about how new growth is looking, and we'll usually play with that number because we don't know new growth till the fall. So we usually will try to play with that number as it gets closer to April, when we're balancing, to say, okay, well, if we have a little bit here, then we won't really be taxing totally, because we'll have some excess in new growth that maybe we could turn back. So we really look at stuff in March and April as best as we can, because it's still a huge guess, because we won't know new growth till September.
And if that new growth number ends up coming in at $2.4 million
Right.
instead of the $400,000 that we project,
Right.
that'll generate $2 million in excess levy capacity.
Right. But on the flip side, if new growth only came at $250,000 and we budgeted $400,000, I have to come up with the difference somewhere else.
Right.
So we keep that in mind too. So we try not to go right to the penny when we do revenue, because for whatever,
Right, 'cause it
these
can
have
be a
been weird.
double-edged sword.
Right, let's all agree, these have been weird years. We don't have a big project coming up next year. So it's back just to regular residential and where residential has been. And yes, people are building stuff, but it's not $2 million. So we used to budget, I want to say either $250,000 or $300,000 for new growth prior to Amazon. So I always say we're going back to like regular world now.
We try to assume that we're going back to the 19s and 20s.
Right.
And then be
Right.
surprised when it
Right.
comes in.
Pleasantly
Better.
surprised
Right.
when the new building comes.
Right.
Andrew, what's the overlay again?
Overlay is
Yeah.
the account that the assessors hold for giving
Abatements.
abatements and exemptions for real
Oh,
estate and
that's the
personal
one
property.
Right.
That we
Yes.
put money into
Yeah.
for
Right.
Yep.
the Amazon?
Yep. Yeah, because if Amazon comes back and fights us on anything, that was a $4.8 million bill. So if
Okay.
they come back and fight us on anything, I had to have money set aside,
Okay.
because if not, I don't know where we were coming up with it from.
Right.
So.
We would have had to probably pull it from stabilization.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. I
So-
just was drawing a blank.
And then if they decide that they're not gonna fight us on it and they just pay the bill, we can close it.
Yeah. That's why we kind of had those options at town meeting, where initially, if the town meeting had approved to move that money into stabilization, it would have sat there and generated interest. And then if Amazon fought us on it, we might have to go back to town meeting to pull it back out, but we'd
Right.
at least have generated the interest
Interest
in the
on it.
meantime. Now it's just gonna sit in the overlay
Yeah.
until we're past those, that
The
that
period
The
where-
threat.
deadline for them filing.
Yeah.
Right, and then that money can be released from the overlay and put into a stabilization.
Yeah, in the meantime, when the bills are coming in, I'm investing it, so we're still making interest, but not as
That's
much
what I
as
was
you
gonna
would have.
ask, is
But
can
the
you
interest
still-
goes-
You have the freedom in overlay to do the same thing. that you do in
Correct, the interest just goes
stabilization.
to general fund rather than staying in stabilization, so that you'll see excess, I'll see excess in investment income that, for FY '26 when I go to do free cash. I would rather it stay in stabilization, but it will turn back to free cash, so we could just appropriate more if we wanted to.
Okay.
Is it the same kind of rate, or is it?
It's different, cause
Yeah.
you're bound by law what you can invest it in, and it's a little bit more favorable when you go into stabilization.
Okay.
Cause you can, you can put it into a portfolio, where now I'm only allowed to put into like a CD, maybe some, if I invest it into like a portfolio type thing, they want it for longer. And where it's general fund income, I don't wanna invest it for too long, cause if I do need it, I wanna be able to pull it out, so.
Makes sense.
We try to play, but not too much, cause it's town money, so, but try to make some, so we get the extra, but not play, can't do too much, so.
So I'll try to kind of skip through the dissertations here, but kind of our considerations for future projection. First is school assessments. Municipal revenue growth factor is a big factor from year to year, and that's a factor that's dictated by the state, and it's pretty much tied directly to that new growth that we see. So if we're getting these huge increases in new growth, they're looking at a 3-year look back on our averages. And if we're averaging a 15% increase in new growth over a 3-year period, they're gonna overlay that into saying, if you're able to increase your taxable value by that much, that is money that can go toward the school.
Right.
And that's a large chunk of the formula that comes out from the school district when they set their budget. And that's why we've seen over the last few years, the school may pass a budget that's only 3.5%, 4%, but our assessments are going up 9 and 10% because we've seen such tremendous new growth. And we have another town within our district that has seen stagnation in their growth. So that burden has shifted more to us to pick up that. Now, whatever is above that minimum net school spending is then split out between what the attendance at the school is, which is almost a 50-50 split. So, and then health insurance, we just talked about that. I don't need to go through all of the things, but they're kind of outlined here of all the issues that we're considering with the health insurance, and then trying to determine what our best steps forward are. Public safety staffing costs, we already know that we have the new fire station coming up. That's going to require 4 additional firefighters to staff appropriately. But we also have the operational costs of additional building that we're going to have to factor in. And then capital needs, we're aware that the school district, they provide us some early indication that they're considering a major capital investment into the schools, based off the last facility evaluation study that they conducted. This could potentially come before the communities as a debt approval ballot. So as the school district, they have to go to a ballot vote to approve debt. It's not the same as a debt exclusion vote, but it's a similar process. It's just to authorize them to borrow for a project. Once they receive that approval, then the towns need to decide whether or not it's going to pursue excluding that. So essentially a second ballot vote to exclude whatever debt that comes on. The last one that came up, I believe, was the roof project that was approved by a district ballot, but we opted to fund that within the levy.
Right.
So, I can't remember, I believe Dudley had excluded it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
it depends on what your fiscal capability is of taking that
Right.
on in comparison to the long-term
Yeah,
debt.
we don't have to do the same thing.
Right. Well, we still have to come up with money just like them.
Well, right.
It's just how we do it.
Right.
is what-
And the money that we have to come up with could be different too, will probably be different too.
Yeah.
Because it depends on where the school district is doing the work. If it's solely just in Charlton and it's solely just to the Dudley schools, it's on each town responsibility. But if it's anything to Shepherd Hill, it's the district agreement split.
Okay.
Yep. And then the senior center, we know that was a topic of discussion at the special town meeting. We're evaluating the options as to what would be the best path forward. Is it property acquisition, new construction, or a substantial renovation potentially to existing space? We're working right now on engaging an architect to evaluate these options through our house doctor contract and try to present some options for the town to move forward with that, just in comparison to everything else. And then just existing facilities, so, we have our own buildings, they're showing their age. We can't ignore them, we try to put Band-Aids on things, but we know that, we have to keep in mind long-term investments into the buildings that we do currently own and maintain, and can't let them go by the wayside for the next new shiny project.
Right.
So. And then, just on the other side of that sheet I just outlined, what the budgetary growth for each of the sectors were over the last few years. So, you can see those increases to education over the last few and how that's been in total with the budget. But, retirement insurance, that's been growing over time. Public safety, those lines have grown substantially over time. And then when it comes to, human services, culture and rec, general government, and debt, those numbers have remained relatively stable over going all the way back to FY20. And then if you compare those to the average single-family tax bills.
One quick
Yeah.
question. Where on this chart would the unfunded liability fall?
For OPEB,
Yeah.
it's not.
Sorry,
I know-
that's
I know
under
it's not part of our
retirement
operating
insurance.
budget.
Right, but the money that we fund is under retirement and insurance, so the dark blue there.
All right.
But our unfunded part, we don't budget for. It's not included in anything.
Right, but I'm just curious as to, I thought at one time we had thought if we kept up the rate of payment that we were
Yeah.
doing, we'd pay off by 2035 or something?
Yep. Yeah.
Still on that kind of a schedule? Because I know we made a couple of extra
We got our OPEB audit back. I just haven't looked at the final number since I got it back, but I'll look again. I know that we've made strides on it, so.
Yeah, I would think that by now, I do remember something about 2035 or
Yeah.
2034. So I mean,
We're
I know it's
definitely
gonna
ahead
be a
of
long time
schedule.
before we get to hold that cash.
Right.
But I'm just curious as
Yeah.
to.
We're aggressively funding it. I think the biggest wild card is what does the increase to the insurances
Right.
do to that number? Because as we're seeing these wild increases to insurance, that then becomes a post-employment liability
Right.
because you're funding 50% of that new cost.
Right.
So while you're investing into it, it does have somewhat of an offset when you have these wild swings in the market.
Right. And that you really won't see that probably affect for another 2 years. Cause it takes them, cause they kind of play catch up when they do your audit and they don't look at they don't do a true actuarial audit every year. It's every other year.
Yeah.
Where they'll pull employee, the benefit, what they have for a plan. They pull that information every other year. And we just did it this year and the increase was in FY '26. So you probably won't see a true increase in anything till probably '27
Okay.
at the end of the audit.
Yeah, and then just our average single-family tax bill. So as we've kind of shown with the excess levy capacity, back when we didn't have the levy capacity to spare, it was, we had a couple of years where, we had a 2.69% increase, a 5.2% increase, and then a 4.7% increase. Once we had the capability of maintaining, the excess levy capacity, our target has been about between 3.5 and 4% of making sure that tax bills increase,
Yep.
year over year. So that's kind of our target as we're looking at is maintaining that stable growth between those parameters as long as we have that capability to do so.
Stay away from the 5 and 6%.
Yeah.
Because I think, what was it? Trying to remember, what did Boston just say they increased residential tax
13.
bills by
Yeah.
13%? So that
That's
us
huge.
us
Yeah.
maintaining that excess levy capacity keeps us from doing
that.
that because we're maintaining that low, I would say, stable tax rate while the residential values have spiked.
Right.
Who just went up there?
Boston, what they're proposing it,
Yeah.
yeah.
They would have passed it by now because tax bills are going out.
Yeah.
So.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the last one. So just want to give you kind of like some challenges in projecting the excess levy. So I just outlined kind of like our budget calendar right now, just kind of showing that, we start this process in January. By the time we're setting a budget, the real only relatively hard numbers that we have from the assessors are what's been filed as formal list for personal property. There may still be personal property out there that she has to get, but she hasn't really dove into real estate yet. So we don't even at that time have a state budget that's passed.
Right.
We barely even have a Senate budget that's come forward. So we're really going off of House numbers and what we're hearing at the state what the Senate might pass. After we pass it, the conference committee gets together, the governor passes a budget. We're hoping that it's more than what we anticipated. If it is, it's additional revenue, and that's money that then will go into free cash for the next year. It's right around that time that the assessor is really starting her field work, so that way she could submit her LA 13 around the same time that we're submitting our Schedule A and certifying free cash, which is about 3 weeks prior to when we have our special town meeting. That time we have some certainty as far as what our values are, so that way, and we know what our free cash is. So when we're going into the fall, we have a lot more certainty as to where we are fiscally than we are when we're going into annual town meeting. And then after that, then we have our tax classification hearing when we find out what the actual rate will
Right.
be, and then the DOR certifies that rate right after.
Yeah, and usually going into town meeting in October, I usually have an idea what the rate's gonna be. We just don't set it, DOR does, so I can go in and pull, Kathy and I will go in, we'll play with numbers in there, okay, if we did this, what's it gonna do to the tax rate? If we did this, what's it gonna do to the tax rate? And we'll play with numbers. If especially when we have, like, when we just had the 5.6 million in new growth, the three of us went in and we literally looked at, okay, if we added this, what's it gonna do? If we take this away, how, like, does it drop the tax rate too much? Does it? So we really go in and we play with everything, and you can see about where it is. So we kind of have an idea of where we'll be tax rate wise, usually before we go into town meeting.
Did you build that Excel spreadsheet yourself?
Which one?
The one that allows you to play with it?
No,
and
we
see-
go right into the state website.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different, so once the assessor has her LA 13 approved, new growth will load in and all her values load in, and then I can go in and I put all of my numbers in, and then we can go around and we
I
can,
got you.
by adding stuff and subtracting stuff, it adjusts the tax rate, so.
Yep.
So I'll just wrap up, kind of like
Yep.
my warning as to why we try to stay as conservative as possible, because it doesn't matter what day you turn on the news, they always say that the market is gonna crash tomorrow, and you never know what's gonna happen. You know, we saw it in 2008. But, you know, if we ran into that and it was mid-year, and we've already set our budget, you know, we're looking at, you know, a reduction in local receipts because you're gonna get less building permits, a reduction in your excess levy tax collections because people are gonna stop buying new cars, reduction in meals tax revenue because no one's gonna go out to eat, a reduction in interest income because the market is not generating any interest. State's gonna start looking at where it can cut money, and it's probably gonna start cutting it from municipalities, so 9C cuts are gonna start taking away our state aid. And then that's all gonna lead to a higher increase in tax rates and a higher increase in uncollected tax revenue if people can't pay their bills. So, in order to make sure that we don't end up in that situation, we develop a conservative revenue projection for annual, and then we try to bring forward something that's more realistic in the fall.
Right.
So that's
Well done.
my
Thank you.
script, and I'm sticking to it.
Very informative.
Very good. Excellent. This is, and just so that those that may be watching, okay, we'll put this in the, on
I
the
can-
website somewhere.
Yeah, I can put it on the website. I'll put it probably on the news flash page.
Or just watch this video again and maybe you'll learn,
Yeah.
okay?
See, we're not trying to pull wool over anybody's eyes by
Right.
asking for budget amendments in the fall instead of annual. It's just we have a much clearer picture as to where we're at.
Exactly. Okay, any comments, questions we want to make on that presentation?
great.
Again, well done,
Nice job.
team.
Excellent job.
Thank you, Ray. Does anybody have an idea on what they would like to see us talk about the next meeting? Is there any one issue? One of the thoughts I had, as an example, okay, is how do we go out and get a bond? What's the actual mechanics of getting a bond? Okay, the paperwork involved. Is it a bond for a brand new fire truck or a bond for a fire station? Okay, I'm sure they're two different kinds of bonds.
Kind of.
They're a little bit different.
Yeah.
But that kind of a topic. Or
Process
is there
is
another
different.
topic that you'd like to see us cover?
I think one that comes up at town meeting, and it doesn't need to be next month, but when we do the transfers between accounts, I think that's a bit confusing.
That one definitely confused the votes,
Okay.
Yeah,
moving it to the futures, and they just didn't understand where it was supposed to go, what it actually was from.
yep.
I think they were,
Gotcha.
To and where from, even including unpaid bills
Yep.
from prior years,
Yep.
things like that, just transfer, like a general topic of transfers and how that might come up.
Okay.
Okay. Come up with something for next,
You
you want to do that for the next meeting?
Kind of like a
Sure.
town meeting overview of how we come up with like how the mechanisms work for all the financial stuff.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Do you care about budget too? Because you have technically transfers in there too, or do you just mean like the transfers that usually go like from free cash to whatever, or maybe budget amendment into stabilization, like those kind of transfers?
Yeah, I think to and from, I think what we do with free cash, I think what we do with stabilization, stabilization also feeds into eventually what we're trying to do with our bond rating, right?
Right.
So they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
But maybe maybe we start next month with how we move money around for whether it's unpaid bills, stabilization, free cash, and then it goes into our credit rating, bond, securing a bond the following month.
Okay.
Yep.
I like it.
Right.
Okay.
Is that a good one?
yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll do transfers for January, and then we'll do bonds for February.
How we're rated, what we're trying to achieve
Yeah.
Right.
as a town.
Okay.
How it affects the tax rate.
Yeah.
Debt exclusion versus override, that kind
Okay.
of stuff.
Yeah.
You want that as part of the bonds and stuff?
Yep. All right. Now,
Love giving Ashley homework.
That's okay.
no, they don't have enough to do, right? All right.
Nerd out on it.
Next, we have an update
Slow
from the
down.
finance director and town
Ish. I shouldn't
administrator.
say that, 'cause it's not
First
really,
question I
but-
have is, how's the new fire station coming?
It's going well.
That's nice.
Let's see, we're probably at about 30% completion at this point of construction. The insulated roof panels are going up this week. Obviously, the weather isn't on our side right now, so there's a few things that we'd love to have gotten done before the frost, but might have to wait until the end. But they're hoping that by mid-January, all the roof will be up, and they'll be pretty close to weather tight by the end of January.
They're
So-
putting some up yesterday when I drove
Yeah.
by. Looks nice.
Mm.
You haven't driven by. Definitely looks a lot different. The whole like
Yeah.
living quarters, public side, like not the garage side, but that's all framed,
Mhm.
framed out and everything. The garage side is all just steel still, but
Yep.
the like living quarters side and like the public access side is all
Yeah.
like looks like
Can't
frameworked
really
out for like a
drive down
house.
that end of town. I'm always
I know.
going west.
I see it every morning dropping kids
Yeah.
off, so.
Yeah, it looks
it's
nice.
Cool to watch it go up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the roof truss of the apparatus bay should be going up within the next 2 weeks. So, and then, once they're done putting in the insulated roof panels on the admin side, it should be around the same time that they're putting those in on the apparatus floor.
Yeah.
Is there an aspirational grand opening date?
September of '26, so that's our target right now. My contract says it.
Cool.
Maybe we could have an open house for the September special town meeting. Right? Everybody stops in there, grabs a cup of coffee, and
Right.
then goes to the meeting. Add more work to you. All right, what else we got
We'll
going on?
just take the
in
fire
town?
chief outside. He'll be glad.
I'd say right now it's just starting the behind the scenes stuff for FY '27. I know Ashley's been busy getting everybody's budgets and then sending them back and saying that this isn't good enough, try again. So,
I've had a couple departments come in and sit with me already,
Yeah.
so
yeah, so
getting a refresher.
kind of taking these early projections on revenue and trying to at least get it in there to know where we stand. You know, we try to throw a pin right now of where we think the school's gonna be, but you really don't know until the governor releases her budget, because that's when they come out with those minimum net school spending numbers, and at least then you can kind of back into a projection. Like right now, they could tell you it's a 10% school increase, and I couldn't tell you what that means for the assessment until the net school spending number comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
We did meet with them the other day, so,
Yeah.
I mean, not awful. They're facing the same problems we are with health insurance.
Are they too?
Not-
Why, are they in the
Not as
same?
Not as drastic, but rising costs.
But are they in the same?
No, they're part
Oh,
of a
not?
different group, yeah. It's us, actually, us and Dudley are part of the same group. So Dudley's in the same exact boat we are, but the school district's part of another purchasing group. But,
Is
Say
that
it's another
purchasing
one we're
group
evaluating.
only limited to school systems?
no, we've been
It's-
looking.
Okay.
We're talking with
At them,
It's-
yeah.
It's an option that we're considering,
Okay.
but
So there are other options.
Yeah, we're keeping our options open for sure, just to try to get the best. We want what's best for the town and the employees,
Yeah.
so trying to balance both.
Yeah, I recall the schools going through some drastic increases a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're looking at the same way, just the cost of healthcare has gone high, and they have a lot of employees in the school district, so.
Yes, I can imagine.
So they could get hit with a 20% increase, and that's a big increase for them if they get hit with a 20%. Like, if they had like what we did, that would have been a huge cost increase for them, because there's like, what they say, like 300 employees at the school,
Oof.
and we have like 100. So you saw how much it was for us, it was what, $500,000? So
Right.
imagine for, what, three times
Three
the amount of
times that.
employees, yeah. So, but it wasn't awful, it was a good meeting.
Yeah.
It was earlier than normal, which was nice,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so.
Okay. we have no open union contracts that you're negotiating?
Just
We're
one.
still in the process of finalizing fire or close.
Okay.
There's just some outstanding things that more or less just button up stuff, but still needs to go back to the select board for their full consideration.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
It's the last one, so.
And kudos to the fire chief, he's starting a new program on that senior program.
Yep.
Which I think is a
hopefully
great
gets good
idea.
involvement.
Huh?
Hopefully gets good participation,
Yes.
involvement from the community
Yeah,
on it.
I hope he does. If you didn't know, what he wants to do is put a group together that visits seniors in town to check on their houses, make sure that they've got working fire alarms, CO,
We do that in
anything that,
Worcester.
you
It's-
do that in
yeah,
Worcester?
It's a great program.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay, well, he's trying to get that here, so whatever we can do, or people at home can do to help him
Yeah.
get this off the ground.
I think he's looking for donations to
He
help
is,
get him off the
he's
ground.
out soliciting companies.
Yeah.
So it won't be coming out of
Yeah.
the operating budget. But I give him a lot of credit for
Yeah.
going out there and trying that. Anything else you wanna mention to us?
No,
You got
it's-
2 more minutes.
I haven't had anything.
I'm sure January 2nd, it'll be a whole new,
Yeah.
whole new day. Right now, it's just preparing.
All right, anybody got anything they wanna mention? No?
Actually, Andrew, I think at one point during the budget process, we had talked about a $50,000 analysis of Route 20 corridor for
Oh, yeah, yeah.
businesses that
Mhm.
I think I saw was in the budget. I don't
Yep.
think it was in the warrant
Yeah,
at
so
the
we-
end, and it
we
got
did.
pulled, but I feel like it was, and then Barbara
You got a
wanted it,
grant, right?
and it was spoke with
Yeah.
selectmen, and I kinda,
So we included, so we classify it as plans and studies. So
Yeah.
we put $50,000 in, and
Oh, that's
it's for, so the contract that we're doing is with West Mass Development. It's for 30, it's not for the full amount, because we kind of split that money between both plans and studies and grant matching, because we have some other grants that we're using those funds for. We're having a kickoff meeting tomorrow. The goal of that assessment is to essentially work with a company that does development, that knows the developers, and knows what a community needs to have in place for development to occur, and try to identify kind of like what are our blind spots right now? What should we be investing in as far as infrastructure, and potential, policy changes that we could implement to make Charlton and Route 20 more attractive to businesses coming in, just so that we can keep the momentum going on some of this stuff, because we've had a lot of kind of like schematic designs and stuff like that, and talked with like planners about it, and I want to work with a developer who really knows the trade, and has planners on staff that have done this in other places. So,
okay. So did we fund?
We did, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
50,000 was
Yeah.
approved? Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the town meeting warrant, it was there was a grant matching and planning
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
and
Yeah, it was
in
part of that
Article
plan.
4. Yeah.
okay. I think I got confused with maybe one of the selectmen said something, I don't know, either way, all good.
Understood, it was a
It was a confusing
multifaceted
meeting.
article.
Yeah, and it was, the meeting, that was a
Yep.
lot going on.
It's
Yeah.
hard, yeah, and it's hard, we try to make the articles broad, but not too broad, to allow, because once I set it by one, like I'm stuck doing, and if you have excess in there at all for anything else, we knew we had grants that we were waiting on getting approved, but if I set it only to grant matching, then I can only use it for that, so we just combined the two.
And I would definitely be interested in updates on that and kind of like
Yep.
where you're going with it, what you're getting out of it, and, because obviously that's there's a lot going on right there
Well,
right now.
yeah, our hope is that, we can develop this really, focus on an infrastructure plan, then try to wrap up the work mid-September, and if there's a clear project that says, man, this would be a really home run for these guys, get that into a Mass Works grant to
Mhm.
try to get that project funded, and then we have that study into it to substantiate the need.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
that's kind of our goal.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anything else? One more time? I'll entertain the motion to adjourn. I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Ray,
Yep, yes.
you all set? All in favor, say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. As a vote, unanimous. Thank you all. We'll see you on January 21st.